Cher bubailo biro gamarda.
Balana, Sudana, Balana, Balana, Balana taban min zaman ya Rabbuna. Taliju ayana balana mamurta Sudan mujaja mafira lena. Balana, Balana, Balana taban min zaman ya Rabbuna. Taliju ayana balana mamurta Sudan mujaja mafira lena. Yalna maidin bainana Rabbuna. Balana, Balana, Balana taban min zaman ya Rabbuna. Taliju ayana baladna mamurta Sudan mujaja mafira lena. Yalna maidin bainana Rabbuna. Sudan ya kwana jidilkum balad fiu mushakil qalbi mitan tarda qalbi mitan tarda. يا جاب سودان يا كوانا جدلكم بلد فيه مشاكل قلبي ميتين درجة قلبي 200 درجة. يا جاب سودان يا كوانا جدلكم بلد فيه مشاكل قلبي 200 درجة 200 درجة قلبي 200 درجة. بكيد عشانكم يا سودان شدلكم يا جماعة شدلكم يا جماعة ربنا بيساعد. أنا بكيد عشانكم يا سودان شدلكم يا جماعة شدلكم يا جماعة ربنا بيساعد.
Okay, thank you guys. Welcome to to South Sudan Eagle Media. My name is Abraham Madid. My guest this evening is Idmon Yakani. So Idmon Yakani, welcome to South Sudan Eagle Media. Our topic for today is about we had a peace talk that going on between the government of South Sudan and opposition holdout group called Non-Signatories South Sudan Opposition Group. They had 4 days meeting in Rome, Italy, with the government. So we had I received a press release from the opposition holdout group. They were saying that the meeting is adjourned, and the government delegate went back to Juba and there's no outcome. So today I have our regular our brother Ilmun Yakani to talk more about this. So what happened and give us a highlight. Ilmun, welcome. So what do you think about a peace negotiation between the between the all-out group and the government? The all-out group is combined with General Pagan, General Malong, and General Thomas Chirilo. So they mostly as we know, they have signed a peace with the government, but SOMA, but now they came out with other called roundtable discussion. So is this peace agreement with the government, is it government now, government are here, the government side saying that, okay, so the whole out group that talk about the roundtable, they're not talking about the peace that they signed with SOMA like in back 2018. So what do you think about this? So go ahead, thank you.
First, thank you very much for hosting me for this particular very important subject matter. And I would like to say first, thanks for Lex Media for hosting me. And also I'd like to say thanks to audience of Lex Media, wherever they are, they're listening to me on this particular show. I've been closely monitoring these talks right from day one when the declaration of resumption of the talks started. Of course, this is following the solidarity mission of the 3 global Christian leaders to Juba. I remember previously was first suspended by president, later on the close of the year of speech, president opened it up, and then when Pope came with Archbishop of Canterbury and the moderator of Church of Scotland to Juba, president declared the resumptions and opposition accept the resumption and they turn out, which is on some few days ago, which is 2 or 3 days ago, they turn out to Rome under the facilitation of St. Gideon community. You know, if you look at the format of this process, having its own challenges in the approach of how the Rome peace process is heading under the community of St. Gideon. The challenges before we go why this one particularly failed. Actually, in personally, when I was following right from day one, I predicted that we're not going to expect anything out of the Rome peace process resumption. Why? Because the approaches and the changes of position and goalpost, it affects the methodology on how to go on with the peace talks. So what I want to say with the methodology, if you remember in the beginning, when it is SOMA, before split into 2, you used to say it is SOMA or the whole out groups and the government. And but the government was one party, not all parties in the government. It's mainly IG leading the delegation so much. Later on, the other political parties start engaging. And in the middle of the process, as they're going on, SOMA split into 2. SOMA under Thomas Cirillo, SOMA under General Malong. And as the process continued, SOMA under Malong migrated from Vatican, migrated to Nairobi to held their own discussion in Nairobi. And these have already challenged the format of how the holdout groups or the non-signatories representation. And there were attempts of reaching a deal separately with the 2 groups, with the SOMA. So it took a bit of time and counter accusation among the 2. While in the government side, the government in terms of SPLM-IG take the lead so much without participation of the other political parties. So that move on, it fails both at them. Whether SOMA, we can say SOMA Rome-based process under Thomas Cirillo can reach a deal with the government, they couldn't reach a deal. Even SOMA under Malong in Nairobi process couldn't reach a deal. So it means here the format is already affected and the format is disturbed. And that's why on the other attempts, how do we go about with it? And remember, the behaviors of the non-signatories to the revitalized peace agreement is also informed by the way how the parties who are signatories to the revitalized peace agreement are behaving in implementing the revitalized peace agreement. So their political mindset is also so much informed by the behaviors they are watching on the signal to the revitalized peace agreement, how they're implementing. So there's a dragging of feet in the implementation. And I think that gives them a bit of a political advantage by saying, actually, what can we deal with them, since which the revitalized agreement under them couldn't move an inch or couldn't move its implementation smoothly as we expect. So those particular situations help the non-signatories to gain a bit of political arguments about how to approach. So when the two groups attempts, the SOMA under Thomas Cirillo and the SOMA under Malong. So when the SOMA under Malong couldn't reach a deal, there's no way out. They have to forge a new formula on how to approach the government. And the new formula is now the establishment of a new group that brought them all together, what you call the non-South Sudan opposition group, which the name of Soma have disappeared. Now, if you see the name of Soma is disappearing completely, would have been someone under General Thomas or someone under Malong, the name is disappearing. Now we have a new name coming up. Actually, the coming of the new name, it means is a coming with a new format, because the first format attempt couldn't succeed. Now they have to come with a new format. So the new format is that actually we don't want to go for direct negotiation, but we need the methodology to change. And the methodology change is we need to go for the national roundtable. And the national roundtable, by interpretation, it means actually opening a new approach on how to reach a political deal between the government and the non-signatories opposition group. And that by itself as a format, compared to the first days of attempt of the format of the Rome Peace process and the Committee of St. Gideon, become contradictory. And of course, what does it mean? It means if you go for the national roundtable, somehow politically, the non-signatories opposition group want the incumbent government, the Artigono, which is composed of the party signatories to the revitalized peace agreement, to acknowledge that they are in trouble, they are in a problem, they are in issues. So somehow like accept that you have failed and we go with new approach. And I think that created the problem of the methodology that we are discussing today. So the information I have that they couldn't reach any inch of agreement is that even they disagree on the format of the agenda. So they have not even have an agenda item. So disagree on the format of the agenda, how to go about with the peace process. So disagreement over the format of the agenda made them to postpone the next round of the talks up to May. So the question is, if they disagree now on the format of the agenda, when May comes, will they reach an agreement on the format of the agenda? Or have they agreed that let's do consultation and we pick up the format? So this particular shift of goalpost to the format of the agenda, that there's a disagreement, that offers another new challenge to the Rome Peace process and the Committee of St. Gideon. So for me, that is the reality where we are in now. It means the format have to change, and changing the format, it means all attempts that were done previously have to be subject. And I remember there's a lot of this outcry from analysts outside that in Rome Peace process, you have several documents, and each of the documents normally is violated by shifting a goalpost, either through the incumbent or through the opposition who are non-signatory to the revitalized peace agreement. So that is a challenge. That's the room where we are in now, and that's the situation we're in now. Thank you over there.
Thank you, Edmund. Yeah, as you see, and this is what confuses South Sudanese, because the whole out group, they talk about, they put the roundtable discussion as the agenda. So what is in it in a roundtable? They're the one who know, and the government is pushing back, say that no. So we are going back to what we signed in 2018. That's what we need to pick up from. And within opposition, they divide themselves, like a group of Malong, for instance. The group of General Malong are not, they seem like they won't back away from the roundtable discussion. So now it's remain with the General Thomas Chirilo and General Pagana Mom and Emmanuel Jawin. So this is what's going on, and now, so what they are talking about here, and this is what very confusing to these people, because and the government too is not willingly to accept the roundtable peace talk, and we see like a few months ago the Pope visited South Sudan and he came and he pushing for all opposition and the government to sign the peace. And 2018 peace, that's what all the international community and the government and all like Eastern Africa, IGAD, are supporting it. So there's two peace here, like the peace that IO signed, which is now the first Vice President Dr. Riek Machar is in Juba, which is all that, and this peace between this whole out group. And the whole group is not supporting 2018 peace signed there between the IO and the government. So, and they don't want to be part of it. They want to, now they are supporting the roundtable. And what you see, what is behind the roundtable is that they want to form a different government. And I never heard any country that, if I'm a mistake, I never see any country that the roundtable succeed. We see 2 roundtables in Sudan that didn't succeed. Okay, now they come up with this. So, do you think, Edmund, what they are doing about roundtables? Do you think they will succeed what they are talking about? And also, why they don't join 2018 peace agreement and go in and join hand with the IO and the other opposition, and then work together with the government to bring peace in the country, because people of South Sudan are suffering so much. And if they are dragging their feet, that they don't want to sign the peace, and everybody wants something, so the innocent civilians are suffering. So this is really heartbreaking to see how these leaders are doing. So what is the way forward for these people with the government? If this on the May 8th, if they are going back, because I see that the government is when the government suspended the peace negotiation with the Soma 1 and Soma 2, and I see now they leave. They are not talking about Soma anymore. They are talking about the round table, which is So this is very confusing. And what will be an outcome? Now they are running to Rome, and they think that the Pope will do, but this peace they have to come within South Sudan. You see. So, what your perspective and advice to these people? Thank you.
Thank you very much. First, I'd like to say the pathways for transition the situation in South Sudan from violence to peace, or from political instability to political stability, whether through the revitalized peace agreement implementation or through the peace process, is suffering from 2 things. And you know, for me, this is a very clear challenge to our political elites. One, both processes, the implementation of the revitalized peace agreement, the peace process, by the signatories to the revitalized peace agreement, and the mediation through St. Gideon with the non-signatories to the revitalized peace agreement, this particular process is suffering from 2 political issues. One, lack of political maturity. All these processes, our political elites are lacking political maturity. They couldn't demonstrate political maturity. What do I mean by political maturity? I mean by having a political position that is straightforward, that you stand for, and you don't shift the goalpost from time to time. So first, we're lacking political maturity. The second thing is that we're lacking political discipline in this process. So once engaging in a political process, where the parties who are parties to this particular process, they don't demonstrate political maturity, and they don't demonstrate political discipline, the chances of you reaching political consensus is not easy. Because consensus normally comes where maturity and discipline is being displayed at highest level. So as we're looking at the implementation of the revitalized peace agreement, maturity is lacking, discipline is lacking. What are the indicators? Look at the swapping of ministry from here to here. Look at the dragging of feet in reconstituting institutions that have to implement the political process. Look at implementation of the security arrangements, graduation of phases not being respected. The roadmap key deadlines will not be respected. For instance, what type of key deadlines? The president signed the constitutional making process on 24th of July. And that means immediately for the 5 days, we have to reconstitute the National Constitutional Review Commission. That was not done. So here there's a lack of political maturity and discipline. When you go to run peace processes, this culture of splitting over competition on access to power, this is one thing that the run peace process is suffering from, is that the opposition have this tendency from time to time, they're splitting over access to power. One want to override over the others. And that's why you have the split up of some are 1 or some are 2 or some are under Thomas, and then some are under Malong. So each of them are fighting over, rivaling over access to power, or on who is to be seen as a political legitimate player with the non-signatories versus the government. That particular split among the groups and lack of consensus among the groups, and always shifting goalposts from this type of negotiation to this type of negotiation, from a format of mediating peace process politically to a format where you need to go to reach to peace process through national roundtable, which national roundtable by itself means the incumbent have to accept they have failed and they should step down, and a new caretaker government can come on power, which you can name it as a technocratic government, or you name it interim government, have to come to power through the national roundtable. And as you say, these are the attempts done in Sudan, and there's no consensus reached. Because I don't think that anybody who's enjoying the V8 in Juba is ready to accept a national roundtable that pull away the V8 from him, pull away his title, and you're told that, please, you have failed, and accepted you have failed, and we need to form another government. The government who are sitting in the in the seats in Juba, in the incumbent government, they are so enjoying the seats that they're in, so they can't really easily surrender. And we've seen that attempt in Sudan. So now, where are we? Because lack of political discipline and lack of political maturity, we are falling to the political trap that Sudan is in now. There will be continuous and consistent split of groups and clash of political ideology and shifting of goalposts. So in another way round, we are falling to the trap of Sudan, where the pathway to realize peace and stability is now determined by the political party which have a power of influence that can push the other partners to accept. And this totally means a failure of a political stability in the country. That's one thing that is affecting. Of course, with the opposition, who are non-signatories, the concept of the round table, I'll tell you, they cannot sustain it for long. They can't sustain it for long, and they'll remain in one group. They will split up. As there's a signal of an attempt, and this group, they walk away from there. And in the government, when they see there's a consensus of the non-signatory revitalized peace agreement about toppling them from power, they can regain consensus on how to approach the whole group, even if they are dragging their feet in implement the revitalized peace agreement. But as long the non-signatories is pushing them to accept national roundtable that calls them to quit their seats and establish a technocratic government or a caretaker government, they're not going to give in. Which in advantage is that may somehow generate or nurture political will among them to somehow demonstrate to the whole out groups or to the opposition groups or non-signatories that they are implementing the revitalized peace agreement. But also there's one thing I'd like to tell you that the non-signatories opposition group is playing around. They know that in terms of timeline calculation of the implementation of the remaining pending task of the revitalized peace agreement per the extended period of 24 months, they know that the party or the government, the revitalized government, will likely is going to fail in meeting their promises that they have extended with the roadmap. I'm one of the persons following the roadmap very closely. Huge deadlines were being missing. So if we reach to June, where the incumbent government failed to reconstitute the political institutions, namely the Political Parties Council, the National Election Commission, the National Constitution Review Commission, the Constitution Drafting Committee, by this June of this month, if the incumbent government fail to reconstitute this, then the deadline of us holding elections by December 2024 is going to be under question. And even how do we go to the elections if these institutions are not functional and these institutions are not running their processes? At the same time, there's a key question. Do we go for election with the census or without census? A rain season is coming. There's a likelihood that you may hit actually the deadline of December 2024 while you're not prepared for credible elections. And you have seen already when President visited Bahar Ghazal is challenging other political parties that are with him in the revitalized peace agreement to unveil their flag bearers, whether flag bearers for the gubernatorial position or flag bearers against his seat as a president. And you start asking whether that's a prerogative of a political party to ask other political parties to unveil, or is the prerogative of the National Election Commission. And the National Election Commission is not being reconstituted that they can, because the only institution have a mandate to declare parties to declare candidature for elections is the National Election Commission, which is not in existence. So if you add up all this process, the political class in South Sudan have shown as South Sudanese that they lack political maturity and political discipline for transitioning the situation from violence to peace. So you will have a hardship in implementing the pending task of the revitalized peace agreement under the Artigono, but at the same time, you'll have hardship in reaching political consensus as an agreement through the Rome peace process. So both processes may fail, and that means the political elites may not convince the common citizens that they are capable leaders, and that may instigate a merging of a new groups. If you look at the Sudan scenario, if I were to go to that Sudan scenario, likely to have a new names coming up also, new things. So Stephen Boy may come up also strongly with his group, and you have already seen other small groups declaring merging now between General so-and-so is merging with General so-and-so. So we are going to multiply generals because lack of political maturity and discipline in political process under the revitalized peace agreement implementation and the peace process is going to allow many people are going to come up with all political theories. So the dilemma here we are in is that can the parties who are non-signatories to the revitalized peace agreement and the parties in the revitalized peace agreement reach level of political maturity and discipline and reach consensus on how they want to address? Because as you say, the National Roundtable, what is it? The National Roundtable is nothing, is an approach for a establishment of a technocratic government or interim government. Now, will the incumbent accept that we have failed? I'm questioning the incumbent to accept. And this will be exactly like what is going on in Sudan. So a lot of proposals with different groups. So you start having another separate agreements around the formal agreement signed. So for me, that is the dilemma. And what is the way forward, as you ask? The way forward, first, if the incumbent want to overcome the opposition who are non-signatories to the revitalized peace agreement, is for them to improve their political commitment and will in implementing the pending task of the revitalized peace agreement to mobilize public trust and confidence that this particular pathway of the revitalized peace agreement is successful transitioning us from violence to peace. So it means those who came back from Rome, who went as incumbent government or the Artigono, have to come back and brief their cabinet and make sure they improve their political attitudes and they minimize disagreement and smoothly they implement the revitalized peace agreement. What is required from them? They have 5 or 6 main tasks that is required from them. One is reconstitute the political institutions for taking the political process. What are they? National Electoral Commission, Political Parties Council, National Constitutional Review Commission, and ensure that the drafting process of the Constitution have started, and then the chapter 2, the security arrangements, work around the security arrangement. Then don't forget chapter 3, reconstitute the special reconstruction fund so that communities start feeling the dividends of the revitalized peace agreement. That's one thing in the side of the incumbent, if don't use as a pathway of overcoming the non-signatories. For the non-signatories, of course, their legitimacy is based on how much are they able to convince the incumbent to sit with them on the round table. So any withdrawal from the round table, it reduces the non-signatories. So the non-signatories end up either, like, if you see, one of my main concern is, are we not moving towards the approach of Darfur peace process, which later on become a Sudan crisis, where you have big names with big titles, but they end up issuing press statements? Are we not generating more Abdul Wahids in the context of South Sudan, whom you sit very far, you issue statements, you shout, while things on the ground is different, and new emerging groups comes up? So for me, the whole out groups or the non-signatories, opposition groups who are pushing, they need to check a strategy of also winning the public attention. Of course, their opportunity, their main advantage is on indiscipline and lack of maturity for the Artigon in implement the revitalized agreement. That is their strength. Another strength is keeping on the table of mediation in Rome open, not closed. Those are their two opportunities of advantages politically that they can market, they can sell their political concepts. But the close of Rome is a big problem. Now, if you go to May, so somehow the non-South Sudan opposition group want to drag the process of the Rome peace process that it affects the timeline of the 24 extended month, so that maybe they can get as an opportunity of telling the global community and the region that what have they done in the extended period. And remember already, there's this commitment, no more extension. Even President in his visit to Baragazali say no more extension. So what is the end game of the current extended period? The end game is to hold peaceful and credible elections. But if the institutions that are tasked to hold elections are not in function, what does this mean? It means it's weaken the incumbent, and the whole out groups or the non-signatories have political advantage of using it as a stake, as a flag of drawing attention of the world. Look here, are they really committed? Why are they not doing what they have committed themselves to? And specifically, we use the analogy where the incumbents say the first attempt of the revitalized agreement is an imposed one, and the roadmap now is their own choice. So if they can't implement their own choice, is it different from they not implementing what they term it as opposition? That is as imposed agreement. That's advantage. That is the strength of the non-signatories to the revitalized peace agreement in terms of gaining political momentum against the incumbent. So they are much more investing on the incumbent weakness in delivering the pending task of the revitalized peace agreement timely, genuinely, and smoothly. While for them, the government is going to push them to an angle that, look here, your methodology of the round table, it means you need to topple us and need to bring a technocratic government. And we're not going to accept that. The advantage for the incumbent is that make the incumbent as a party to the revitalized government of national unity will gain momentum of consensus in approaching the non-signatories. That is, so this concept of holding the round table is to build consensus among those who are implementing the revitalized peace agreement under the Artigono. And that's why you can see, if you see the demonstration of the body getcha in Rome, when you see Martin Abucha from Ayo, and then you start asking, what about the swapping of the ministry? Couldn't they show there? They couldn't show the swapping of the ministries there as an issue. Because there's something I've made them to gain consensus when they're told, you step down. We take a correct government. They say, my friend, we can't step down. So we have our internal crisis there. We sort it out ourselves, but you can't have yours here. We want to topple us down because we are a government. So for me, that game is a dangerous game that they're playing right now among themselves, because that game will hold the country hostage to political instability for a long period of time. If we are to look at the experience of our neighbor Sudan, and if we are to look at other countries like in the Middle East, like the situation in Yemen, the situation in Syria, the situation in Libya, in Iraq, that game, if we are to fall into a trap of that game, it's going to be problematic. And coupled with the insecurities among communities, if we are to push this country political stability is very far. And we have told the world clearly that even spiritual leaders cannot convince us to reach consensus. Our feats were kissed, visits were done. So what else do we need under the sun? Apart from the kiss of the Pope on the feet of the leaders and Pope's visit to the country and Pope urging them that yes, we may have political differences, but let peace and stability be something that you all reach consensus for sorting out your political differences. But now we have shown to the religious leaders, even in the hometown of the religious leader of Pope in Rome, we disagree of an agenda to move an inch. So for me, that is really the dilemma, and that is the lack of demonstration of political maturity and discipline by our political elites from the parties that sit on the mediation table in Rome under the facilitation of St. Gideon. So it's a bit messy. And even, let me tell you, politically, if they're going to go in May back, they're going to start with what? Since they're unable to reach an agenda now, what miracle will they do to reach the agenda? So it means one party have to drop down. Either the non-signatories have to say, no, okay, let's go back to square one where we started. Then the incumbent say, okay, that's a good one. That's what we want to hear. Or the non-signatories group will say, no, we stick to the concept of the national roundtable. And the incumbent say no. And push the incumbents towards legitimacy within the 24 months. Maybe before the end of 24 months, the incumbent reaches a consensus on how to gain political momentum or how to gain political consensus or moving beyond the 24-month extended. So for me, that is a total national political messed up that is created by the political elites or the political class that are in conflict in matters of public governance in the Republic of South Sudan. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Edmund. You know, yesterday I met with one of my friends from Nuba. So I haven't seen him for a while. So I just ran to him. So he told me, Abraham, things are not going well in Sudan. He said insecurity went from the best to the worst. He said that people are just robbing one another. Even at the supermarket, if you have like one of the bag that you are carrying, somebody will come and just grab it in your hand and then run it with it. You see, insecurity is bad in Sudan as we speak. So that thing, and that's lead into what happened, like when the government is changed and everything. Insecurity is bad, and the country become lawless. And this is what I see that this non-signature SOMA they are doing. So they're supporting more care. They are not supporting people. What we are seeing here is that they want suffering of people to continue, and they want war to continue. That's what they are preaching. So let me move to the next. Like, can you highlight a little bit about, talk a little bit about, we have that minute, talk about the visit of President in Barakazal last week. So, so what is? Can you give us a update about that? What is? Because we know that he wanted to celebrate 100 years anniversary of the church, Catholic Church, in Kwanjuk. So let us tell us a little bit more about that for visit of President in Barakazal. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Of course, I've been closely monitoring the visit of the president and the messages he's delivering right from Wow until he reached to Kwajok. I've been closely monitoring that. But, you know, let me just do something before I could reach there, so that before I forgot. In terms of the Sudan situation, I have colleagues who are in Sudan. We have studied together in the universities days. Some of them are now in the government. Sudan, in terms of the city, you know, Sudan is composed of 3 cities. You have Khartoum, Omdurman, Bahari. Is divided to now an armed group's territorial control. A different group is controlling Omdurman, a different group is controlling Bahar, a different group in Khartoum. As your colleague have said, is that if you carry money in the daylight, broad, people come with the knife, which belong to a particular group, can rob for you. One of my colleagues was robbed with the funds. And he said, Akal, it's in the daylight. 6 people came to him with the knives and they're robbing him. And one police was watching. And he tried to alert the police to come and help. The police say, no, I can't help you because that group belongs to another X and Z and I can't attempt with it. Until when they come to our territory, and then we can handle that. That's the situation we're going to face. Who is causing this? This is really caused by the political indiscipline from the political class. Political class implementing the revitalized peace agreement, political class under the Rome peace process. And that's why my appeal to all the political class under the 2 process, under the revitalized peace agreement, and the Rome peace process, this country requires political maturity and political discipline at high level so that we can transition. We will have political disagreement always. They are not the first people who disagree. Before them, Abila, Ler, Lagu, there were disagreements, but they've not reached the level that we're in now. So our call is that we're going to call on the political class to reach that level of having political maturity and discipline where they can make sacrifices for the sake of stability and peace of the country. So for me, both sides have responsibility to make peace and stability realized in this country. That's what I'd like to commend. And when I say both sides, it means under the revitalized peace agreement and the Rome peace process. That is required. Otherwise, we are falling into the trap of Sudan, and with the ongoing communal violence, this country may tear apart, and this country may be in pieces that we cannot anymore bring it together until somebody somewhere have to come forcefully and impose. And that means we're heading towards Somalian system where anybody have to create his own wing and impose a governance, or Libya way where one government is recognized, one government is not recognized. That is a very bad, shameless to us as South Sudanese after we fought for independence for the Republic of South Sudan, where we told the world we need to demonstrate. So that's, for me, it's a shame. And it's a shame to the energy we have through the basketball we're playing or through our other sports that we're demonstrating ourselves. We're people who are capable, but politically we are weak, and politically we're lacking leaders who can take up the country and run it for a sake of having democracy and good governance. That's what I want to conclude. Coming back to the visit of the president. President's visit came in a moment that he is going to attend the 100 years of the Catholic centenary in Kwajok. And of course, he moved from Wow. I think in present visit, what I've learned is 3 main things. Number 1, he is assuring the citizens in the region of Baragazal, which of course that message become a national message. No more extension of the current mandate of the government. Second, we're going for elections. And I'm candidate of SPLM for elections, and I want other parties to declare, to unveil their candidates to the elections. And this tells you very clear that the question of whether is a prerogative of the president to declare other parties to name their or to unveil their candidate for presidency, or is the National Electoral Commission which have that mandate. That's the second thing. The third thing is that president have somehow taken responsibility of challenging communities to stop the communal violence. And specifically, the indicator is the Ngok and the Twitch Dinka. As I speak with you, next week I'll be engaging in mediating, revisiting the Ngok and the Twitch Dinka peace process in Wow. I'm going to be with them, and we're going to look into those issues. So that is another tech that the president have communicated in his visit to Western Baragazal or to Baragazal region in terms of Wow and Kwajok. But also, you can see clearly the president is taking advantage of that and telling the people, look here, elections coming, be ready for it. So those are the 3 messages that I've learned from the visit of the president. Of course, he also have taken responsibility of confirming his commitment for child education, and specifically, he insisted and consistently telling people, allow girls to go to school. And remember, girls' education in that region is a bit problematic. And of course, the whole country, president have declared what we call free education for primary and secondary, and he moved further as releasing 1 billion SSP for that. So practically is showing citizens and the nation on his visit to Baragazal that I'm committed for child education, and particularly girl child. Those are some of the things that are added. Of course, this has renewed the president's influence in that region, and I wish that he can use the same thing to 2 other regions in the same manner that he have done. We have seen him been to Bor, he have been one time to Eastern Equatoria. So that is what the president is using. But of course, his energy and his advantage is determined by the level of stability in the country. having pockets of instability and having dragging of feet in implementing the provision, the revitalized peace agreement as elections is concerned, are another challenge to the message that the president have confirmed in Bahar Ghazal. So that's what he used. But of course, the unfortunate situation is that in his visit to Bahar Ghazal, we immediately see the merging of the hate speech that came, which I don't know. Later on, we're told that those of us who are saying it's a hate speech and hostile propaganda were told it is taken out of context when one member of the SPLM start issuing a statement against the personality of the first vice president, against ethnic, and start using ethnic sentiments in bringing two ethnic groups to clash against each other, which we don't want it, because it's contradictory to the message of the president in the close of year 2022 and opening 2023, where president say 2022 is a year that we have experienced challenge. So based on that, I'm declaring 2023 to be a year for forgiveness, reconciliation, and development. But the hate speech that we have had from Peter Lam, who is SPLM secretary, against Dr. Riek Machar and against the Nuer ethnic group, it contradicts that, which all of us get shocked, and you can see how much people have made a national outcry. And later on, we're told that our outcry, we have taken it out of context, which for me is completely real, whether that's true or not, because it's a video and it's a vocal statement. And you can see that continuing after some days, people start also waging a hate speech against Lam. Some were saying in 64 Tribes media that Lam is poisoned within the SPLM and soon is going to die, he's badly sick. While he is okay, I communicate to him, I ask him, hey, what happened? Is this a fire back on what you have been accused for? So he said, I'm okay. He said, this is a propaganda. So the level of propaganda among South Sudanese is increasingly. And unfortunately, we have some certain media outlets and some South Sudanese who are using social media platforms to promote hostile propaganda and hate speech to the level that even is dragging us to start thinking, are we not narrowing to close to Rwandan genocide of 1994? Because if you see all genocides started with hate speech, none of them just occur like that. It is such sentiments that start building momentum of mobilizing people to start fighting against another ethnic group. So that's the challenge. So I think the visit of the president, he came in yesterday. I think his visit in terms of assessment of the government and then the ruling party is successful. He have drawn attention and he have displayed himself there. But of course, also this has displayed the fitness of the president in front of the public of Bahar Ghazal region. So I think that's the whole essence of the aim. But the challenge that attached to that visit, it is now how are they going to respond to the question of the swapping of the ministry, which is a pending issue on the table, redeployment of the graduated forces, which is a big issue on the table, reconstitution of the political transition institutions. So after that visit, the messages were so positive. Will those messages be reflected when he come back to Juba through acting on these particular issues, redeploying the forces, rolling out phase 2, and reconstituting the institutions that we have mentioned as important for political transitioning, and then ensuring that the dispute over the swapping of the ministries is resolved by consensus. So for me, that's the atmosphere we are in now in Juba, and everybody expecting next week what will happen. And what we have seen today as a getcha of the Council of Ministers today is that the Council of Ministers today have confirmed to the nation through the official spokesperson of the government that the article in our National Security Service, which says the National Security Service have the mandate to arrest any suspect without a warrant of arrest. Today, the Council of Ministers have said, as based on the meeting of the presidency, where they have agreed by consensus that they don't want national security to have that mandate. Today, the Council of Ministers have spoken to the nation that that article is officially removed from National Security Service Act. That means now they don't have any mandate to arrest anybody without a warrant of arrest. So if they don't arrest, they need to have a warrant of arrest, which is a good news in terms of freedom of expression and civic space, and as we're expecting elections to come. But we need over 90% improvement based on this particular positive development I call the removal of the powers of national security in arresting anybody or any suspect without warrant of arrest. Of course, as I say today, has been confirmed. So these are some of the developments. So His Excellency President need to come back from next week, translate some of those messages he delivered in terms of an act. Of course, for the girl child or the child education, we already see physical money have been released, and Honorable Aoud has been effectively working on how to really get the what we call free education functional, and they even suspecting some schools that are ghost schools. They want to remove them out of the benefits from the national budget because we have schools which are ghost that does not exist, but they're getting money in the name of education, whether at primary level or secondary level, and they have been warning that they're going to remove those ghost schools out of their list. Now from ghost names of individuals to ghost names of schools. So for me, these are some of the things that we need to improve in terms of the incumbent in Juba to really have an energy of successful transitioning from violence to peace. And while with the whole out groups, as you have said in the beginning, is a change of political attitudes, a new approach on how do we really handle these issues. So for me, that is actually the visit of the president to Bahragaza region. But now the question is, will his visit assert anything Bahragaza? For me, after his visit, the level of insecurity need to be followed. If the level of insecurity remain low, as fightings are going on the political tension is low, then that's the success of his visit. And of course, the region of Bahragaza, his excellent president is just challenged because some individuals undermine the power of the state authority. And they use instigation of violence in that region just to have an attention of showing that they also need their appetite as sharp to return back to the government. The situation of Ngok and then the Twitch is completely politically motivated, what is happening there. And even what's going on in the Tonch region is also not something that easy, that just simply is a crisis. It's also politically motivated by some section of elites. So for me, those are some of the assessment towards the visit of the president to the region of Bahragaza.
Thank you, Edmund. Yes, you are correct with it. You know, about the visit of president, that video was released intentionally because of visit of president into the North Bahragaza. The video itself, I made a research, and the video was took in January 26, 2023, this year. But they framed they cut out that video clip and then posted in social media, which caused a lot of chaos in social media. And that what hate speeches fall into. So we want South Sudanese in social media need to stay away from those kind of hate speech and edit the video like that. So that will cause harm to the people. So our last, we are coming to close. So my last one, I see one of the article that that are wounded warriors, heroes, that they went to protest at the Ministry of Finance, that the allowances, medical allowances, were not paid. When I see that that news and that they went out and protest, I was heartbreaking. I was real heartbreaking. Like, suppose government of South Sudan is supposed to take care of them. They sacrificed their life, as you can see. Those SPLA veteran. So the government failed to provide basic need. Okay, they should not even go out there to do a protest. Government should pay their salary every monthly, raise their salary, take care of them. So, but that thing did happen. They went there and I see them. That was shocking to me. So what is your intake about this? Because the government, and this is the message that I want to tell the government of South Sudan, it's very important to take care of our veterans, our heroes, wounded heroes, because these people, they sacrifice everything. Now, when we got our independence because of them, but the government failed to provide their needs. So I would like you to comment about that, and then before I shut down, close this show, and we will put another show in the weekend or on Monday, so that we can talk more about what's going on, upcoming event. So thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. With regard to the case of the wounded heroes, and these are the indicators that if the incumbent didn't take political stability as a huge agenda, we are slowly unfolding to chaotic society, like what we describe as Sudan or as Khartoum. What we have seen as a chaotic city, from having a discipline, becoming an indisciplined city where people can do anything. So these heroes, when they went there, the challenge is they are wounded heroes. They have some of their colleagues who are with them, and they see them in really blue suits, good ties and V8s. And while they are together in the bush and they see they have been forgotten, they are working on really these walking sticks, and none of their colleagues who are enjoying in the government is thinking about them in terms of privileges. And that's what they start asking. Have I made a mistake to sacrifice my life that leads to the independence of this country, that leads to the formation of the government, and now I'm forgotten because I'm not physically fit? That's a really big issue. And that's what he said is that people like heroes are not supposed to be allowed to the level that they feel neglected, they feel forgotten. That's a very bad signal, by the way. And political is a nightmare when heroes start feeling that the system that they fought for or the system they brought by losing parts of their body is now undermining the value that they have contributed to bring the system. That's a really big issue. Actually, it caught me when I was around the Minister of Finance. I saw it physically. It's really pain. To be honest with you, you can shed tears. When you see people who have contributed over a number of years in hard, deadly battles, and they end up fighting in that battle that they won, but the only thing they lose is that they have lost part of their body. And today, they have become heroes. And now, giving them privileges of the function of the government they fought for, they are forgotten. So that's, for me, is a big issue. And I think the president really needs to look into the issues of management of the welfare of heroes serious. And actually, I was telling somebody when I was seeing them, I say, if we're supposed to have a serious government, they should have an independent financial facility. Not the means of finance where you have political brokers who are going to loot for money, going to. They should have a separate financial facility that provide for them. And even they should not, we should respect them, that they should not come for follow-up. Why should they come for follow-up? They have contributed huge. The money is supposed to look for them. They're not supposed to look for money. If we really value the loss of some parts of their body that brought the country called the Republic of South Sudan, that brought the flag, that brought the SSP, if we're to value their bodies, the loss of their bodies, we're supposed to send the money to them. They're not supposed to look for money. They're actually supposed to be the most society section of the society that we have been catering for, because we need to appreciate the struggle they have given by losing parts of their bodies. But unfortunately, it's something. And this may have political implications. Remember, usually used to have either in the bridge side, they go and block the bridge. And I think they realize blocking the bridge is no longer a solution. The only way now, let's attempt the means of finance. That is terrible. One day they may cause havoc. And these are the people who can commit suicide with a very big national event that may become a disaster to the nation. So I think for me, that is a lesson that they have communicated to the incumbent leadership to care for them. And my recommendation, when I come across some few leaders, when the strike is going on, of course, some of the people who are in the protection institution, when they show me that, they start pushing me away. We don't want you here, go it away, because they know that maybe I'm going to collect data and I'm going to use a statement about it. But I told them, look here, if you don't cater for this particular section of the society, even you will never be blessed in running the government. If you want to be blessed in running the government, you need to cater for these heroes because they have really done huge sacrifices. Imagine if you see them, they're supposed to be killed, dead. Maybe the lost ones, we may not care for them, but they're alive with us. And some of them are more brave, more competent, more positioned to be actual best than we who are running the institutions today. But because they lost part of their body, we neglect them and we don't care about them. And they start developing sense of stress. And a stressful section of the society by itself is a disaster. So we should not make our wounded heroes and heroines to be stressful so that they become a disaster to the society. So for me, it's really a very bad image. It's a disturbing, as you said. It is a clear indicator that we are losing national value by not respecting such section of the society. So for me, my appeal is that the Minister of Finance need to really table the Council of Ministers. Today I was be lobbying for the Council of Ministers to make a real resolution over their issue. And I'm somebody who's saying, give them a separate financial facility that is not mixed with this most corrupt financial facility. Let's spot where they are, where their houses, open for them bank accounts, send the money to the accounts, let them send their family members or let them go to the banks and find money in the accounts. Even how little it is as come regular to the accounts, they will appreciate. They'll say, okay, maybe this is the economical situation we're in, but at least literally I'm getting it and I know how to plan. But completely you neglect them for a number of months. And they have nothing to do because physically they are not fit to do other jobs. And you have not offered them alternatives. And another way around, you don't want to give them jobs, money on monthly basis, give them jobs. Disability is not inability. Give them work to do. They will do better than coming to beg. Some of them are physical fit that they can do job. It's just because they have lost one of their legs, then we start discriminating them, which for me, actually by itself is a human rights issue. We're not supposed to discriminate people who have disability, because disability is not inability. They can do. We have a lot of opportunities that we can cater for them jobs. We can get for them wheelchairs, auto wheelchairs that they can move. We can buy for them vehicles. We can put them into offices. They can work everywhere. Some of them can be ministers even, and can perform better than current ministers. Just simply because we decided to discriminate them because they have lost parts of their bodies, which is completely, for me, it is a national indiscipline. It's an insult to them for their sacrifices. So for me, it's really a question of political leadership of the country to take a political decision to cater. And I think this incident of they storming the Ministry of Finance should be first lesson and the last lesson. And we must care and we must cater for them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ilmon. Yeah, you're right. The government should take care of them, because they have that time they put on, because this time now is a time that the government should put, even though the country in the crisis. Number one thing, they will never forget the wounded warriors. So it should put their allowances, their money to the bank, as you said, and then whenever they need it, they should go there. They should not even come out and protest the way that it is, you see. Their need, the government, in the beginning, the government should build their houses for them, give them cars. Even though they don't drive, they can provide the drivers for them. Whenever they have doctor appointment, they can take them to the doctor appointment. They should set up the system that can take care of them, you see. But there's no system in there. So, and I'm appealing to the Southern government. They think they need to do a better job to take care and put money aside. Another thing too, you see the dollars now. We are in deep crisis in economy. So the dollars went up. Great. So Sudan pound. So I heard that today is $100.
Yeah,
you see, $1
is almost hitting 100.
Yeah.
It's 95, somewhere is 98. It's almost hitting 100.
Imagine. How can people survive?
Exactly.
They don't even have like where they will get money. Because the big thing now is, I'm building a school right now in the village. So today I sent the money yesterday to build a school, and things went up like buy the timber. Timber is like 15,000. One pieces. 15,000 pounds. One pieces. And bag of cement. It's 15,000. I said, what is this? This is chaos. This is how the country is failing. Country is failing. So that is the way, because if the dollars went that way, 90,000. Okay, these wounded warriors, where they will get the money? And you see their allowances. Their allowances, it will be how many? After 3-6 months, they will be give 30,000 or 20,000 or 50,000. Is that enough? No. And the things are so expensive at the market. So
market respond to dollar rate. Market respond to dollar rate. Market is not just functioning naturally. The more the dollar is high, the price automatically shoots up.
Yep, absolutely. And this is really because, like in black market now is 95 or it's going 100, and central bank I think that is 83 or 87 or 85. You see, this is really a sad event to see. This is how the country is failing. It's failing. If the economy went that way, in the first place, when they put the country is run by the dollars, why you allow dollar to run your country? Like in the beginning, in 2011, 25, when I went there, the dollars was $1. Was like four pound or 2 pound. Was stronger than any money in East Africa or in Africa at all. But now it's less. The pound is less. It's just you spend like $1,000. I mean, 1,000 pounds or 50,000 pounds. It's nothing. You see. So, and this is the really sad to see that the country, where the country heading to. And this is what I always calling out the government leaders and opposition leaders. You need to put the country first, the people first, above your political will or above your greediness or power, you see. So, yeah, go right. Yeah, go ahead, Ilmun. Yeah, go ahead, it's your chance. So it's really
one of the biggest thing with the economy in the country is that the political instability, which the political instability in the country, the lack of political maturity and the political indiscipline in the country, its economical value is what we have seen in the rate of the dollar. So if I talk about the economical value of the political instability, it is what I've said now. So they need to stop political instability so that we gain the economical value of the stability, which economical value of political stability is always beneficial for the citizens. Economical value of instability is always a disaster. So that's, for me, it's the biggest issue. And I think that's why today I made a statement calling upon the president to hold a national economical crisis meeting. But I don't want the committee, because last time when you have a crisis management committee, they become even crisis to the national economy. Because they form as a crisis management committee, they become another crisis in terms of expenses. They start buying new vehicles. You are asked to go and manage crisis, you want to buy more vehicles to cause more crisis as a crisis management committee. We don't want to go that way. The way is that we need to just discipline the financial institutions in managing the funds of the country. And we need to discipline the political leaders in playing around. Let me tell you, this sharp increase of the dollars can easily fall down if the political leadership have to take strict measures against malpractices. Let me give you what the malpractices. Central bank is auctioning dollars. I follow one case scenario to build up my narrative that I'm sharing right now. And I say I'm going to disclose it very closely. So I follow for 3 months auctions that happen in central bank. You come to realize people in the central bank establish forex bureaus, communicate to some commercial banks. They auction the dollars. These commercial banks go to get the dollars. They make it easy for them to access the auction. And when they auction, they remember there's this campaign whether the auctioning should be secret or the auctioning should be public. The current governor of central bank came out with the formula that no, once auctioning is done, should be done public, and the forex bureau should declare the dollar rate public. Why? Because forex bureau and commercial banks go and observe these dollars, and they start selling the dollars as a commodity. So dollar is no longer a currency in South Sudan, by the way. Dollar is no longer a currency. For example, if you send $100 from US to me in Juba, if I withdraw that $100, I have different view the way how you look at the dollar in US. You look at it as a currency, you want to go for market. But I see this is a capital. This is a commodity, by the way. I don't see it as a currency. I see it as a commodity. I see it as a vehicle. I see it as a house. I see it as a cloth. I see it as something that is a commodity. It's no longer, because I can play around with it. I start marketing it. Imagine a currency in US which have no any space to be a commodity for marketing. In South Sudan is a commodity. Actually, if I'm hungry, if I need 10,000 to eat, to feel justified, and you send to me $100, the moment I receive your $100 of US right now, that hunger disappears. Do you know why? Because I've seen more than what I want for my food. So I need to sell it out. So I start playing around with the figure. So our government have made dollar to become a commodity. It's no longer a currency. Why is it a commodity? Because our financial institution have made dollar to be a commodity in the market by auctioning it. One of the things I've been arguing with someone, I say, no, look here, I'm a lay person. I'm not an economist. Why are you auctioning dollars to commercial banks? One, take into account this. All commercial banks that we have in Sudan are not national. They are foreign. Okay? So, and I was listening to a Nigerian economist was arguing over the concept of central bank auctioning foreign currency. How does that destroy national currency? And he was giving a economic rationale, like how the ownership of dollar by commercial banks that are not national banks, how it contributes in destroying the strength of a national currency purchasing power. And this is what we are experiencing. You auction it, commercial banks which are foreign, yes, the employees are national, but the decision is foreign because their headquarters is not based here. So they go and buy it. Now they start trading on this dollar as a commodity. Actually, they get more from the pockets of the citizens using the dollar as a commodity. So that is really requires president to discipline the financial institutions in the way how they're managing the economy. Because we're managing economy against dollar being a commodity. We're not managing the economy as dollar is a currency. That's the biggest issue. And if you go to really professional economists, they'll tell you the disaster. That why do make dollar become a commodity in the country? And that's going to be a disaster. And that's going to cause instability, by the way, to leadership. If the leadership does not see that actually making dollar as a commodity is a political risk to the success of their leadership. By the way, currency can make a regime change. Some people believe regime change is through going to the bush. Currency can make a regime change. How Bashir fall? Bashir didn't fall because of anything. Bashir fall simply because the South Sudanese pounds were being manipulated to the level that even State House become a target.
Yeah.
So if this dollar, let me ask you, let this dollar reach the level of become 120. When this dollar become 120, everybody is ready to work, whether it means dying or not dying, everybody's work to J1.
J1, yes.
Because it means J1 is everything now. The only way is going to get J1 out to make the dollar to come down. So playing around with the currency is the strongest political gain for regime change. And the leadership in Juba should take it serious. I know some of them may be listening to us in these deliberations, that this sharp increase of dollar can contribute to regime change. And who are they? It's actually the regime changing itself by not managing the economy, by making dollar become a commodity. So currency topple down the strongest Bashir. Easily currency can make the regime in Juba fail. I don't know why they're not looking at that angle politically from an economic point of view. So this is the message is that
it's coming, and this is how, like, if the dollar is going up like this, it's coming. What happened in northern Sudan is coming. It's coming to Juba, because if they don't see that they can right now, and how people are suffering right now on the street in Juba or across South Sudan because of dollar went up, it's really this will be, if they don't see the President Salva Kiir and his government is not seeing this, the regime change will come only. But even this opposition are crying that there is a round table and all these things, the change will come within South Sudan. The citizen will rise up because of these dollars. So we reach to our time. Thanks so much, Inmun. And we will be doing a lot of discussion, by the way, for the next coming about this. If the dollars is still going on, we will discuss about this issue, because it's very dangerous and people are suffering. And this is too much. I will give you your last. So I will give you a last remark. And before I give that, I would like to recognize Ambassador Akage in the room, in Clubhouse. So thank you for joining the room. Thank you. I greeting you. Even though I will not bring you up because you're just listening, then I just want to shout out him. So Dr. Akage, thank you for being here with us. So Ilmun, go ahead and put in your close remark, and we will talk more about this topic, about the Rome peace talk, and about the dollars rate going up in South Sudan. So we will be talk about this in upcoming days. So go ahead and put your last word, and then we will close down the show.
My closing remarks. My closing remarks is a call to the political class, that the political class, wherever you are, in whatever setup you are, this country requires political maturity and discipline in order to succeed. You want to fail this country, keep on demonstrating lack of political maturity and political indiscipline. We will fail. So shame will be for those who are unable to display political maturity and discipline for the success of the Republic of South Sudan. We are not regretting for having it as a republic, but your political indiscipline and lack of maturity is making us suffering today. So that's my closing remarks. And abstain from spreading hate speech and hostile propaganda. This may lead the country to genocide if you don't feel that hate speech and hostile propaganda is a triggers for genocide. Let's stop that. And let God bless South Sudan. Thank you.
Thank you, Yelmo. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful days, and I will talk to you again for the next coming days. So we will talk more about what's going on in our country. And let's shed the light on this issue. Thank you guys. Have a wonderful night.
دولار يا جماعة
Have a good night.
ليه ترفعوا دولار في البنك؟ لا 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 حتى الجدل المحلي المانجا واللبن كله بقى غالي قال عشان دولار دي منياي كلام دولار يا دولار ارجع بلدك كلام دولار فيها مشكلة جنوبين ما عنده قروش باكل وين ما عنده شغل باكل وين لو جات كله بقى دولار انا زعلان كلام دولار لو جات كله بقى دولار انا زعلان كلام دولار